Pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ms. Hope, if you do the roll call, please.
Okay. Mr. Holste,
Present.
Mr. Marquardt,
Present.
Ms. Miller,
Present.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Present.
Ms. Sheben. Here. Ms. Tauber, present. Ms. Sandberg. Here. Mr. Saladas,
Present.
Mr. Oshton.
Present.
Okay.
Mr. President.
Sir.
Could the record reflect council members Miller and Sharper present also?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, we will start with the presentation from our program coordinator, Hope, to speak about what programs have been implemented.
Do you want me to go to the podium or here?
You can go there, I would think. There's no reason for her to go to the podium, right?
No, you can do it.
You can go right there.
Okay.
Be comfortable.
Good. Okay, I have made packets that outline the information from the Parks Department surveys. There are 3 papers that have the responses to the 3 questions. What park amenities would you like to see in your community? What programs would you like to see in your community? And what expectations do you have of your Parks Recreation Board? I put the responses in order from greatest to least and the percentages to those responses. I've called the people who filled out the form to become volunteers. There were 6 people listed on the form. Of the 6, I had 3 of them express interest in a Clean the Parks Day. One of the volunteers is a Cub Scout leader, and he has 3 families that would like to help clean the parks. 2 of the volunteers have filled out volunteer applications and furnished their ID for the background. And one of the volunteers for the application needs to come back with her Indiana driver's license. I have 1 interested in helping with the soccer program and 2 volunteers that are interested in helping with the senior social and kids art classes. One of the volunteers came in with a donation for Trunk or Treat. I've put out flyers and talked to businesses about the Trunk or Treat event that was held on Saturday. I attended the Trunk or Treat for the Parks Department, and it was a big success. I put together the composting class, and I've gotten more information on the other classes. The response for the classes offered by Purdue Extension have been great. There have been many other classes that I would like to do with Rebecca from Purdue Extension and some of her colleagues. She is willing to do an animal track identification program in February, a bird feeder program, or an herb program in the spring, and a lake sampling program in the summer. She has connections for the beekeeping classes and the mushroom foraging classes as well. I've put together art classes for both adults and children that will be taught by Lynn Kubel from the Beach Palette. We have set up classes and hope to hold classes monthly. She is willing to hold classes specifically for teens also. I've talked to several seniors and parents who signed up for the classes, who have given opinions on what they'd like to see offered through the Parks Department. I have also talked to several people through email about the programs and what they would like to see. Several have expressed interest for bingo and more programs that would be the educational type programs. Quite a few of the homeschool parents would like more of the Purdue Extension type of classes. I had a meeting with Harry Preste and Sarah Moore about presenting a personal safety class. Harry would like to do a presentation and use the town hall meeting room because he needs to have the big screen. He would like to have the personal safety class on Saturday, January 14th from 2 to 4, and he would like the class to be called Principles and Concepts of Personal Safety. I've collected quotes and researched putting the soccer program back together. I have looked at supplies we currently have and determined what we will need. I have a breakdown on how much it will tentatively cost. I have reached out to people in the athletic community to get advice and input, and possibly some references for referees and coaches. I would like to have a STEM club. It would be held at the clubhouse for children in grades 2nd through 6th grade. This will be a fun, educational club held once a month on Mondays from 4 to 5. It focuses on science, technology, engineering, and math. We'll play math games, hold engineering challenges, do science experiments, and explore technology. I have some supplies already to use for this program, so initially there would be no cost. I've talked to Kira Hagerman from the Lake County Soil Waste Management District. They offer classes about recycling, reusing, landfills, food waste, science, and other environmental issues for elementary grade levels. I asked if she and her staff would be able to do a presentation at a park board meeting, but unfortunately, they're not available to do that. She did drop off some brochures on her classes. She emailed me a PowerPoint, and that outlines the services they provide, and I would like to use their services for one of the STEM Club classes. I have contacted different presenters for upcoming senior social events. Stretch Lab will be our presenters tomorrow. Edgewater Health will be presenting in December. Kevin Toth might do the presentation in January, and in February, Drew Bosick from People's Bank will talk about reverse mortgages. Harry Preste, he said he could do a presentation for the seniors on avoiding scams, and we haven't set up a date with Harry yet on that. But I have also talked to Josh Barnes, who's the Recreation Director for Cherville Parks Department, about movies in the park, and I've got a lot of information about and advice about movies in the park, and I emailed Swank, which is licensing, to just get a baseline of the cost of how much it would cost for the licensing, and then I found out information on the equipment, and I also got some references for people who rent their equipment and then run it for us. And I did other stuff, but I don't have any more.
So your first day was what, September 21st?
Yeah.
That's a heck of a month and 6 days. You've been busy.
Yeah.
You've been productive. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Bravo. Before we move on, does anyone have any questions for Hope regarding her presentation?
No, good job. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, for real.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir?
I made a note on my agenda, and it occurred to me as we were hearing Hope give her report that that's probably the type of report you want to hear every month, that your agenda might want to include Park Department Recreational Coordinator report,
Okay.
just as a matter of course.
Yeah, and actually I thought, it obviously isn't, but I thought that was in the project update section, so we will make sure. Hope is doing the agenda, so make sure you give yourself a spot for your report.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's fantastic.
Okay.
That's exactly what I think we need to hear, and so thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Item number 1 is the approval of the September 22nd, 2022 meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to approve those meeting minutes, or does anyone have any questions or concerns?
Motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Rodriguez.
I'll second it.
I have a second from Greg. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt?
Yes.
Ms. Miller? Yes. Mr. Holste?
Yes. Okay, 4-0. Oh no, we're good. Sorry, I'm thinking ahead of myself. Item number 1 in old business is capital improvement projects, whether it be tennis, pickleball, et cetera. This carries over from the previous meeting. The only update I have, well, I guess I technically have 2. I have been in contact with, let me get the exact name. Court of Sport, which is out of Illinois, which specializes in pickleball, outdoor facilities, so on and so forth. Just to start a conversation, being completely honest, all that was a Google search. Sure, you could drop a concrete pad and paint lines on it, but I'd like it to look nice. So I'd like to see what a company that professionally makes those. Pickleball is one of the hottest rising sports in the country, and very few communities around us have pickleball courts. There is a difference between pickleball and tennis courts, as far as size, net height, whatever. What I really like about pickleball for the community is it doesn't have an age range. There's seniors at the Y playing pickleball, there's kids playing pickleball. For those that aren't familiar, it's a wooden paddle and a wiffle ball, and Miss Miller joined me on my birthday party at Pickle Time, and I introduced her to the sport. Good exercise, good activity, lots of fun. So anyhow, I have a phone call with them tomorrow just to find out how we start a conversation and what type of information they need from us. Mr. Salatas and I had spoke. The upside, I think we're a little bit ahead, is that we have that survey work being done already for the pavilion projects, which ideally I would like to myself utilize Kiwanis or maybe Lindsway as a place to put one of those courts. So the survey work's done. But again, this is nothing more than information. So there was the mention of tennis, and if I mentioned tennis in the previous meeting, it was not necessarily my focus, but Miss Mary Joan Dixon had reached out to me to let me know about the tennis court availability at Hanover Central High School. So I then reached out to the superintendent, who then put me in touch with the athletic director. So according to the superintendent, there are 3 tennis courts available to the public every day, and they also have access to turn on lights at night on those 3 courts as well. The conversation then evolved into perhaps a joint meeting with Hope and myself and the athletic director to discuss maybe a tennis camp in the summer. You know, how can we share that beautiful tennis facility and, you know, make something work with it. But that's been nothing more than an email conversation so far, no further discussion. So, you know, like I said, I'd like to see, I mean, yes, I'm biased. I am a fan of pickleball, but it's on ESPN now. So apparently the world is too. That's really all I have at this point. So unless anyone has anything to discuss, I would just look for a motion to defer this to the next meeting, and hopefully I will have had my discussion with the pickleball company out of Illinois. Like I said, it's supposed to be tomorrow, and we'll see where it goes from there. So if no one has any objections, if I can get a motion to defer this to the November meeting.
I'll motion to defer the discussion of tennis and pickleball to the next meeting.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Paul. Any further discussion? I'll wear my pickleball t-shirt next meeting. Can we get a roll call?
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Markwart?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Holstein?
Yes. Okay, item number 2 on the old business is discussion of the proposed dog park equipment and amenities, which was deferred from the previous meeting. Ms. Miller, would you like to take us through that?
Sure. So, Mr. Rodriguez and I were working on putting together what we think is a nice option for equipment for both sites. There's large dog and small dog fields. So we have the boneyard for the larger space, has quite a good selection of obstacle course equipment, and then also we have 2 pet waste stations for the feces and an extra bench. So if you look at option 3 and option 4, those are where the quotes are, kind of far down on the list. The dingo package is the latest. And again, this is the company that offers installation and also storage so that we can install it at the appropriate time.
Okay. And this is reflective of the conversation you and I had had as far as the idea was that both sides would have the same equipment based on,
Not the exact same.
but similar?
Comparable. The Dingo kit is, the equipment's more appropriate for the smaller size breeds.
Okay, so, for council's knowledge and those attending, originally when Ms. Miller had started working on this, it was brought to her attention that there was a vision with that dog park that they would be fairly similar as far as equipment, which I don't think we were necessarily aware of, but we are now. And the theory was the small dog, big dog side. Now will people read and actually do what the signs say?
Right.
You know, who knows, but, so that's the concept that we're dealing with now. Ms. Miller, did you want to discuss pricing, and were you leaning towards anything, I believe by dollar amount? Mr. Oshin, if I so can ask, one of these quotes for the equipment is in the amount of $24,355, and the other one is $34,950. I'm assuming that's...
That's the total. I believe that's...
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at option 3 and 4 are the same thing?
No, so I think really we should be looking at option 4 because,
Okay.
only because, option 4 includes comparable obstacle course for the small dog side.
Got it.
So maybe let's just look at option 4 because option
Okay.
3 wouldn't fit the requirements.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. So $34,950 is what this company is coming in at. I assume that's past the threshold where we might have to put it up to bid, or?
No, you don't have to go to bid, the proposal spot, were specifications identified. Did you receive more than one proposal?
Oh, yes, we had at least 5 quotes, and they were all comparable, but this is the one that offered the service of installation, and they're pretty nearby. They can store at a warehouse in Indiana.
You have the right to, and responsibility to make your decision on which one is the lowest responsive and responsible bid. You're underneath the bid thresholds, quotation in this instance.
Okay. And in the previous meeting, we did look at, it was Home Depot, which had equipment, and I forget what the other company was right off the top of my head, so.
I think we also looked at a quote that, just from the company that makes the equipment, right? And then this company is actually one that installs this equipment. So we
They're a
looked-
distributor with the pricing,
Yeah.
it's not upcharged or anything like
Yeah,
that. And
yeah.
there were 3 other actual playground equipment companies that were quoted as well. They quoted us. I believe Kinetic Recreation was the best option. I
Yeah.
don't know if you want to add to that.
No, I agree. I think, the installation of the equipment's gonna be important, because it's not just kind of building it and setting it out there. It's probably gonna need, concrete footings and, proper placement, so to have someone professionally do it is probably optimal.
And I would agree, especially since there's been the discussion of charging for such a facility. Let's make it a nice facility.
Mhm.
Let's make it one that people actually want to bring their dogs to, and I think that I applaud both your efforts on this and taking this on. I think it's something that we can be proud of when it's set up, and it won't just be 2 fences, and we'll maybe turn some naysayers into some yay-sayers. So, what's the board's pleasure? Are we looking to move forward on this one? I believe, Mr. Rushin, we've spoke about this, correct? This would be acceptable use of park impact fees because it's still a project under construction, correct?
It absolutely is.
Yeah. What's the board's pleasure?
I'm all for it. I would just request that once we do this, we can task, you know, I guess me and Ms. Miller will then be tasked with putting together policies and fee structure.
Council, is that gonna fall under us?
Or,
I would think that
I would think so.
I would think so.
Okay,
Dave, that would fall under them, wouldn't it?
Once those policies are identified and established, the town council should check off.
Okay. Yeah.
If we're gonna enforce them, it'll be by and through the town council.
so we can create them, pass them up to you.
Pass them up to us for approval.
Right.
Okay. I know each of us have done some individual research on local communities' pricing and policies and so on and so forth, so we don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel either. I think we can look at some well-established communities, you know, I mean, Lowell Bark Park is a fantastic dog park. Lemon Lake, I haven't been there in a while. I know you go there quite a bit. Yeah.
Beautiful.
You know, Crown Point got with it and has a dog park now, and
Cherville has one,
Cherville, yeah.
and policies.
Yeah, so, I mean, okay, so then, I guess I'll need a little bit more than a do it. Were they looking for a deposit or full payment? I didn't see that.
50% up front.
There it is, yep, okay.
Includes shipping, so it's the total in there.
And then we can designate an installation?
Yes,
Okay. I wish Mr. Kubiak was here, but Chris, can you, as far as the dog park, since we're on that subject, the electric's at the gate, right? That's been ran and...
That's what it says.
Yes.
Okay. So,
I believe that the fob has not been installed, and I have not been past there this week, but I've seen pictures of the lighting has gone up. I believe there may still be some minor fence work on the outside where that main entrance area, but it's coming together pretty quickly.
it does, yeah, so, okay, so hypothetically, we could get this deposit, let's see, 8 to 12 weeks is the install turnaround time, so that puts us,
And they're probably not gonna wanna start installing until the ground's a little more stable in the
right?
spring.
So realistically, maybe an install March, April,
Mhm.
but we would get our order in, and if they're storing the equipment for us, all the better, right? Okay,
Right.
so I need a motion to pay Kinetic Recreation for the package that we have displayed, in the amount of $34,950 out of park impact fees. Can I get that motion?
I'll make a motion to use the park impact fees to pay for the new dog park equipment.
Okay, can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Sir?
could, that be revised a little bit to award the contract to the company as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder?
Sure, absolutely.
You can say so
Or
moved.
add that language to it.
You can say so moved, apparently.
I make a motion
Oh.
that we approve, that we award the contract for the dog park equipment to, what am I gonna say, the lowest, or the
Lowest most
best
responsible.
responsible bidder.
Which is,
Kinetic.
Oh, which is Kinetic.
thank you.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right, we have a second. Hope?
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Markwart?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
yes.
Mr. Holstein?
Yes. All right, we've got a dog park coming.
Sir, where's that water fountain going in there? Do you know where they're gonna move it to, or?
That's what I was going to ask, actually.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm just curious,
The
because
old
I don't
fountain is
see
still
it.
currently.
Yeah, the old fountain's still there. I know there's been discussion. I was under the impression it was,
Well, I think that originally what was discussed was to have a fountain still on the outside for people,
right,
and then also connect the water on the inside of both parks for the dogs, where you could take a drink, but also fill the bowl.
Yes.
right. So we had that fountain on order, if not,
Yeah,
It's been approved.
it has been ordered.
Yeah.
And it's my understanding that the water department has been working on the water lines as they've been doing the
Okay.
other work at the park.
So is it going to be in the entry gate area, or Do you know where?
Are we referring to the Eagle Scout fountain, or are we referring to the?
Our new fountain.
The new fountain. My understanding was the new fountain was going to be placed where the Eagle Scout fountain was, and the Eagle Scout fountain was gonna be relocated for public access outside of that perimeter.
So only one side is going to have a fountain then?
Well, so it's ironic you mentioned that, 'cause now you've got me thinking if that's something we need to consider, is to have a fountain on both.
I would think you
You
probably
do.
should.
Yes.
Otherwise, people will be bringing their small dogs to the large
Right.
dog side. Or...
Exactly. And I mean, I guess I have to be honest, even I myself in the previous meeting didn't realize that was us in previous meetings, that the theory with that was that it was, small, large dogs, so,
We can work with Tim, and if the board is comfortable with it, the two members that worked on the dog park placement, on identifying exactly where on site that new one that's been ordered will go, and if a potential second one would be required.
yeah, I mean, I do like the idea of a second one, because as Ms. Sheben is saying, someone's gonna bring their dog into the other one, or it's gonna create some issue, but, if we're trying to separate and offer equal amenities, then maybe
Right.
that's not the worst decision. Like I said, I mean, out of respect of the Eagle Scout project, I just wanna make sure that that one gets placed as well, and, whatever, so, I guess maybe, Sue, I guess we would have to, in a separate meeting, order that second one, or can we?
I would suggest you wait and let Chris discuss with Mr.
Okay.
Kubiak and see how far along they are. I mean, because who knows, maybe Mr. Kubiak already had his
A plan.
team.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe they already have something.
Can you just let us know by next meeting, Chris?
Absolutely.
All right, awesome, so we'll hold off on that, but, like I said, as we were sitting there talking about it and I was looking at the drawing, I thought of the same thing, so, that's probably a good move. Okay, so, item number 1 in new business is ratifying park recreation activities that occurred on October 20th, 21st, and 25th. Hope again, I mean, you kind of talked about it in your presentation, well-attended, good response. I shared with you on the Cedar Lake page, there was something positive about what you were doing on Facebook, so, it was a mother who had expressed her great appreciation for the composting class and was really excited to see what was coming down the road, and, understood that we're just starting to really get moving, and, she was excited to see what the future was, but gave a nice shout out to Hope, so that was really nice to see, especially on the Cedar Lake Facebook page where you just don't see that. So, that was really nice.
Dale, what is the intent of the board regarding ratifying activities? This seems to be kind of an after the event occurs discussion we're having.
So, Ms. Tauber had set up some activities that were at no cost, to the town, and they had occurred, and, Ms. Tauber had just not presented it to us in a meeting. She kind of did what she was hired to do, which was hit the ground running, and we just missed one little step.
That's the piece
Yes, sir.
I thought it.
Yes, sir. So that's all we're doing on that, is just ratifying that.
That'll be in the report next month.
Yes, sir.
That'll be up. Okay.
Yep. So that's why, yes, that's what that's for, sir. So for item number 1, I just need a motion to approve the events that had already happened on October 21st, 20th, and 25th.
I'll motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
And I got a second from Greg. So first from Paul, second from Greg. Any discussion? Can we get a roll call on the events that had already happened?
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Markort?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Holstein?
Yes. Okay, so, if the board is comfortable with this, item 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8, I would like to solicit a motion to combine them as one vote. The second part of that motion is, I don't know if you all had seen your email today, but I had asked Hope to just give me a ballpark estimate of costs to us to provide these events. It's under $500. So if I can, and we can discuss these events, but I'd like to lump 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8 into one agenda item. And then again, the second portion of that is to give Hope the okay to spend up to $500 to provide refreshments and items that would be required to do that event. So, can I get a motion, I guess, first to combine agenda item 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8?
I'll give a motion to combine 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. We'll do a roll call on that.
Okay, Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Markwart?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Holstein?
Yes. Okay, so the second motion I'd like to solicit is to give Hope the approval to spend up to $500 on the potential expenses involved with hosting these events.
I'll motion.
Okay, first by Paul,
I'll second that.
second by Sarah. Roll call one more time, please.
Okay, Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Markwart?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Holstein?
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about item number 2 first, the bingo activity. Hope if you would kind of explain the vision and what that's going to look like and where and such.
Okay, I would like to do a bingo activity. It would be free for the public. As I've been collecting names for the senior social, talking to seniors, emailing, both seniors and some of the parents would like bingo activity. I found an old bingo set in the shed, so it wouldn't cost us anything other than a few small prizes from Dollar General or Dollar Tree, just something to be fun, and then provide light refreshments for them. I'd like to do that once a month if we can, and I'd like the next one to be on November 7th, if we can do that then.
Do you have a time?
Yes, 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Or, wait a minute, sorry, hold on 1 second.
Nope, you're fine.
Let me make sure of my time. I might have that messed up. No, I'm sorry, 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m.
Okay. Okay, so, I know we spoke about this, but you've checked that, Monastery Clubhouse is available?
Yes, it is available on that day.
Okay, so it is available, so we have no scheduling conflicts there. And Mr. Oshin, just for the record, no charge bingo, no cash prize bingo, we're not under any obligation to get a gambling permit or anything like that, right? Okay, very good. Okay, so, item 3 and 4, adult art class, kids art class. If you just want to talk about what they've done at Beach Palette, you've got your dates listed as November 10th and 22nd, and then December 15th and 20th alike.
Yes, so the next adult class will be on the 20th. On November 10th and December 15th for the adult class. For the kids' next classes will be November 22nd and the 20th. The adult class times will be from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. and the kids' classes will be from 4 o'clock to 5:30. The cost for the adult class is $25. That's the fee that they pay here at Town Hall. And the kids' art classes are $12. We'll provide light refreshments for them at these events. And, Lynn Kubel from Beach Palette does the teaching of the classes.
Awesome, and it's great to have a local business partnering up with us, doing something like that. That's what this is
Are
supposed to be.
these held at Beach Palette or over? at
These
the
are held at the clubhouse.
Clubhouse?
Mhm.
It's really nice to have Lynn participating in that, so that's great.
She's really enthusiastic about doing more classes if the public seems to want to do that. She said we could do specifically teen classes as well.
I love that. I love seeing the community rallying with us to do things positive and make this thing take off, so that's awesome. Okay, so then item number 5, we have the Clean the Parks Day on November 20th, 2022. Who do you have to do that?
I have a Cub Scout leader and 3 families, and then I also have 2 volunteers. One of the volunteers has a significant other, so there's at least 7 people plus me that are willing to do this. And then once I am able to put it out into public, I'm hoping to get more people that would like to help just jump in and pick up litter, clean the parks if they see, dog do or anything else.
Sure.
So.
Sure.
And I would, this one will be, November 20th, which is a Sunday, from 12 to 3 o'clock. You just pick a park and pick up litter and start cleaning. And then, I would like to do this quarterly, like at least once every 3 months, just have a day where the public can, and then that way, I feel also people can talk to me, get to know me, and find out what's going on in the town, and find out what's going on with the events at the park.
Will you be providing trash bags for the cleanup?
Yes.
Okay, and then we'll just have Public Works come pick it up.
Okay, so if you could work with Mr. Kubiak, just letting him know that that's occurring, and then maybe on that following Monday, which would be a trash day, so that'd be good. We can work on getting those collected. As far as, I'm gonna back up the bus a little bit here. If Hope is saying monthly on bingo, quarterly on Clean the Parks, can we just let her set those up, or do those need to be approved for each?
That's her job.
So she's good to go as long as it doesn't go high and to the right, or?
Maintenance and cleaning and.
Sure. Okay, cool. So you can work on, okay, good.
Okay, great.
And I presume it'll be a coordination with, Mr. Kubiak or whomever's working out there at the time if there's activity going on, but yeah, that's what they're supposed to do.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so tell us about STEM Club, and, this is like the first thing I had heard about you when I started checking your references, was your 35 millimeter film canisters and STEM Club, so what do you got in mind there?
Okay, STEM Club is near and dear to my heart. I did that in my old job at my library, and I had a lot of kids that loved STEM Club, and we do everything from engineering challenges, which is really cost, like there's not very much cost, or little to no cost, actually. We make things with whatever materials I can gather, and the Lake County Solid Waste District has a reuse room, which is like a resource room where I can get materials like paper towel tubes, milk jug caps, and stuff that we'll need to build our projects with. So that's where the no cost comes in. I can get all of those supplies for free. So I'd like to do this monthly. I would like to hold it at the clubhouse. My dates are January 9th, February 6th, and March 6th. Sometimes I'd like to have presenters from outside, and I'll let you guys know about those, but one of the people I would like to include in that is the Lake County Solid Waste District. They do classes and educational programs on science about food waste, recycling, reusing items, and they have a class specifically about reusing, reinventing, doing things with, instead of just throwing things out. So I'd like to use her. I haven't set any dates up with her yet, but I would like to. So that class would be from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock at night.
Okay.
At the clubhouse on those dates, and I'd like to, I don't know if there's gonna be a great, response to it, so I just wanna set up the first 3 months and then see how it goes, and then set up the next quarter's, dates as I see how January goes.
You might be surprised because the YMCA had a STEM program out of the Y, and it was very well attended. It's cool to be sciencey.
Yeah.
So, you'll find that, not everyone's a 4-star athlete, and some
Yeah.
people like to do science, so I think
There's
that's
a lot of kids like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited about that. I'm gonna pass 7 and go to 8, if you just wanna talk about Officer Preste's personal safety class, please.
Okay, I had a meeting with Harry Preste and Sarah Moore. Harry would like to do a class on personal safety. He'd like to call it the principles and concepts of personal safety. He'd like to use this room. He needs the big screen to do his presentation. He's going to talk about everything from just being aware of your surroundings, safety when you're out in the public, avoiding scams, how to avoid email phishing tactics that they do. Some notes here as well on some other things that he talked about. His class is going to be 2 hours long. And he's going to talk about also safety at home as well. If you live alone, things that you can do to, help feel safer, and things that you can have right at your bed to help your, if you live alone. He wants to do this on January, I think I have the date, yes. It's a Saturday, January 14th, from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And like I said, he wants to use this room so that he could use the screen.
Sure.
So.
And I'm sure there's no scheduling conflict there.
No, I checked
Okay.
the calendar. There's no conflict in the...
Okay, well, I guess I need a motion to approve all of those programs that Ms. Tauber has presented to us. Can I get a motion to approve these programs?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion from Paul.
I'll second it.
I have a second from Greg. Can we get a roll call, please?
Okay, Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Holste?
Yes. Great job.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, so item number 7, soccer league quote costs fees. For Sarah and Greg and council's knowledge, earlier this week, Mr. Saladas, myself, Hope, and Mr. Rodriguez got together to kind of firmly commit to the return of the soccer program. We have time to assemble a lot of the details, but we kind of want to hard commit to its return. Hope and Sarah and myself spent the morning going through the shed we lived. Some of the equipment is okay, some of the equipment isn't. The discussion that we had in our meeting Monday was, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this right. Some of the goals, the metal's bent, kids have probably been hanging on them, or just wear, tear, fatigue, whatever. So I had tasked Hope with reaching out to the YMCA, because they have some pretty stellar soccer equipment, and it came in at a pretty stellar price. So then Hope had found a second company, and if, so I guess we'll break this down in a couple things. So Hope, if you just want to talk about the equipment itself as far as the company you found, the price of that.
Okay, yeah. Can you come back so I can see that? Okay, so I got, some quotes from different companies for, the nets and the goals. The one that was the cheapest is a gentleman, it's JMM, it's down here, JMM Matters Incorporated, and he's in Kankakee, Illinois. He can give us, 2 sets of goals and the nets, and that is including freight. The total for that would be $7,728. And that was right in line with the other, it was a little bit cheaper than the other ones that I had gotten, just on the internet, and those other ones that I had gotten either by email or, just looking up companies on the internet, they did not include the freight, which is bringing it here, so that it didn't include the shipping and handling on that. So they would be, that much more. And then the cheapest, quote that I got for shirts was from Legacy Team Sports, in Crown Point, and she said the prices will go up, after January 1st, but, she went ahead and gave me a quote just so that I would kind of know a ballpark of, hers were $575 a shirt, and that is for, just having the front logo with Cedar Lake Park's logo on the front, and then the back having a number on the back. So the more you put on it, the more. So if we do get sponsorships and want to put Shillings or whatever company's name on the back, that'll cost a little bit more. And she was the cheapest. I got quotes from 4 different places, and they ranged from $20 a shirt down to the $575.
And since we're kind of talking about the return of soccer, one of the things that we decided as a group in the meeting, and as long as the board is in favor of this, I'm going to reference a couple things here. So soccer was, Hope did a fantastic job of breaking this down. Let me just find it here. So soccer was the top response as far as programs, at 18% of the respondents. So in regards to that, there was only 144 responses to what programs would you like to see in your community, and I was going to talk about this in project updates since I kind of started this project with the survey, but nevertheless, I feel pretty confident, judging by the success of the surrounding communities programs. Some of our kids from our community are playing soccer somewhere else at the youth level. Rather than, when Brandon ran the soccer program, it went from preschool to, what did we figure out, age 12? I think it was 12. We want to return it up to grade 5 and see how this looks. Do we have the support we need? Do we have the staff we need? Do we have the teams, which we feel pretty confident we will. And then I think the vision is that, if this goes off the chains, then maybe the following year we bring it up 1 more grade, and then the following year we bring it up 1 more grade after that, We want a diverse program, but we don't want to try to put, all the way through 8th grade or 7th grade or whatever and not be able to fill it. We'd rather start small and see how it looks. So that did save us a little bit of money. Does this new one reflect us not getting the mega adult size ones?
It would be $200 cheaper to get both of the goals, the 21 by 7 instead of the 24 by 8.
And by mega, that's what I meant, those
Yeah.
dimensions. Thank you. I don't remember what those dimensions are. So we would eventually probably replace the adult size nets, but we're not gonna do that right now just because they're just gonna sit. Or, I'm sorry, the goals and nets. So Hope, if you wanna take us through a little bit more what you've broken down as far as,
So the cost for soccer, the total estimated cost would be $11,887, and that includes the goals and the nets, the brand new goals and nets. There would be $968 for the shirts. As I said, the cost would be more than that if we do sponsorships and put business names on the back of the shirts, but that would be offset if we get the sponsorships. That would cover the extra cost for that. If we set the coaches up with clipboards, first aid kits, cones, balls that we need to replace, whistles, and goalie gloves for their goalies, it would be $1,031. The referees' pay, I based on having 36 games. We're gonna do a 6-week program and 6 games each week. And that, paying the referees $50 per game would be $1,800. I thought it would be nice to do thank you photos for the coaches. I talked to Yvonne from Wahlberg Photography, and she said she wouldn't she wouldn't charge us anything if we wanted to do pictures with her. They would just take the pictures and then let the parents buy the pictures if they want. And then in return, I thought we could purchase thank you photos for the coaches, team photos to give them, and the cost for that would be $60. In the previous program, I noticed that coaches were, as an incentive to be a coach, they got half off of their child's registration, which would be $25 off. So that cost, if we're basing it on 12 teams, that would be $300. The registration fees we're guesstimating 12 teams, 12 kids in each team, so 144 kids at $50 each for the registration cost. That would be $7,200. So then the difference needed for the program would be $4,687. That is subtracting the estimated cost of $11,887, subtracting the registration, the money that we get from registration. So then, if we were to sponsor 12 teams at $150 each team, that would be $1,800. And then that would bring our difference needed for the program down a little bit to $2,887.
So, that being said, goals and nets in the meeting we had discussed, we think we might have a couple funding mechanisms in park budget equipment. Was that the line item? Am I speaking correctly?
Yeah.
We might have it there. We also might have it, obviously, the non-reverting fund was established for programs and events, and I feel like that might qualify. So that being said, if we do have the funding in place that we believe we do for the goals and so on and so forth, that eliminates that shortfall substantially, which allows us to have a little bit of cushion should we not get the registrations we do, or we plan on getting or hope to get or whatever. So, did they give, so I'm gonna go over the notes I had from the meeting, just so for the record. The timeline we're looking, Hope said she'd like to see practices start April 11th, and then 2 weeks of practices, right? So the games
2 weeks
would,
before the games start.
and that would be,
The first game would be, April 29th,
right,
the last weekend in April, and then they would run for 6 weeks of soccer games, but we would be off 1 week in between for Memorial Day weekend. So the last week of the soccer program would be June 10th.
so again, you know, we're not going to the World Cup here out of this town, we're doing one now, we will. But you gotta start somewhere, right? So, we're looking at 1 day a week practice, 1 game a week for a 6-week program. We're looking at, a midweek practice, and then the games on Saturdays. There was discussion of the possibility of the farmer's market being on Saturdays, but, Mr. Salatas reached out to Ms. Dykstra, and that's not gonna interfere with, what they're doing or intend to do or hope to do or whatever. So based off the projected timeline, we would have a season, the space is ours, we could lay it out. Did you talk to Tim at all about getting that field rolled before,
Yeah, and I actually did see that there is a roller out,
okay.
on the site too.
So because of the increased activity on the property, since we last had soccer, the terrain has become a little bit like the moon, and, we're going to try to roll it out to get 1 season out of this property here on town grounds. And then, you know, nothing official yet, but the discussion was perhaps using the dewatering facility, maybe get some grass in there next year and turning that into the soccer complex or other locations. But, before we can't roll it out, Public Works is gonna go out, roll this, see if we can get it smooth and usable to get us through at the very least next
I
season.
think we're dewatering for the next 3 to 4 years, so I don't know that there'd be availability there.
There would be about 20 acres on
And
the
a small area
frontage
that
towards
we
the
can use.
road that we would be able to use. It'll be essentially between 2 fenced-off areas.
Okay.
Chris had showed me on a map where the
So
the
they're not-
idea came
where they're not
from.
using?
Yeah,
Yeah.
where we're currently stockpiling topsoil.
So, I mean, if we can, you know, that might be a nice transitional point, but we feel confident that we can get 1 season out of here and we can address the following season as time goes.
Right.
So what else do we want to talk about with soccer? Sponsors, we really feel encouraged that the climate of the community has changed. We have a lot of new businesses, a lot of new eager businesses. I mean, an $150 sponsorship isn't much for a soccer team, you know, youth program, I would think. So we're pretty excited about it. Does the board members have any questions or concerns for Hope or anything they want to talk about?
I have one, just a little concern.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at, it seems pretty, 144 kids is a lot of kids to get signed up. I'm all in for buying all this equipment and stuff, and it's great, but when do we actually put this out there for people to start signing up? That's my question.
That's a great question, because we talked about that. We want to get ahead of the other communities before they roll out their spring registrations with the hope that we reclaim some of the children that we've lost due to the lack of the program. You know, I can attest through the Y program that my kid's been in the last couple of years, there's a lot of kids from Cedar Lake there. And I imagine there's a lot of kids in Lowell, and I imagine there's a lot of kids,
And we have like 200.
you know.
Mr. Becker had a very large program. It was I think that final season he had was like 260 kids.
Wow, that's
It
impressive.
was to the point where he was pretty much out of space here at the grounds. He couldn't create any more fields because every time we tried to figure out somewhere else on the grounds to put a field up for him, it was, you know, one of those low spots where there was standing water, it was too mucky, Mr. Becker had a very nice program before pandemic.
Sure. And again, Greg, I think by us personally, and, you know, Paul and I, we had talked about this in that meeting, I do think by throttling it back, we'll fill those spots. And I think that, so I guess the theory is kind of to put it out there to the public. It's coming, we have a timeline. Yes, there are probably some legal things we have to do. I'm assuming we have to rewrite the ordinance for the registration fees and stuff like that, correct?
Yes, because how the
The activity
fees
seems to
is
be in
now.
order.
Yeah. There are things that we're going to have to do to get this rolling by spring, but by no means do I think it's impossible. And, you know, we want it out there. It's coming. We heard you. We heard you last year. You know, the surveys don't even reflect I mean, just at MacArthur Elementary School, I kind of floated this out there to parents, and I had one lady, I'll sign my 3 kids up. You know, like, I think it's a great program to start off. So, you know, the thing, Greg, too, though, that we talked about that in the meeting, is that if it doesn't take off this year and maybe it's smaller than we wanted it to be, if it's successful, it'll gain traction like it used to.
I think the spirit of Dave was in the room, because I might have quoted him in saying that you eat the elephant one bite at a time, so we're trying, just build it up, start small. The goals are, an item that should have a 10-year return on investment, so although we would spend, a substantial, or decent amount of money initially, we'll get it back in the long run.
And the place that the YMCA used was like 16,000 or 17,000, so I'll attest it to the fact that it comes on wheels. Their nets come on wheels, and that's just so they can move it across their artificial turf easier.
Sure.
We don't need wheels, we have grass, we're good, So, I would, did I ask you this, the turnaround time on the soccer equipment?
The turnaround time.
From like order to delivery?
I don't have that information. I
Okay.
didn't ask him that because I didn't know that we would go this far.
Well, and I'm not even
So,
necessarily
when I talk to
saying we
him,
will, but just, but
I can find that out though.
I do want to kind of hard commit to this. I do kind of, and that's just me talking. I want to show the community that we're vested into bringing something back that they've wanted, and I want it to look nice. So, again, if we're going to charge for it, let's make it look pretty. And, Mr. Becker did a fantastic job. My child participated in it, and the only reason I left that program was because I had to coach, and I was not meant for that. Preschool coaching was not fun. I guess if there's a board member that is so moved, we could take action on getting the equipment purchased as a hard commit to bringing this program back.
The only question I had, were we looking to purchase equipment before the end of this year, or
Well,
which budget we touching? We touching
Well-
22, we touching 23?
Ideally, we would probably like to encumber what we can out of this year's budget, with the expectation that not all of these items will be purchased. The large item that we'll need to purchase right now for leading into next year would be the goals.
Okay.
yeah, we're not looking to do the whole tamale. We're,
Just your big equipment right now, okay, so Ixnay, your garbage cans we were talking about last week.
I can hold off on that.
well, and Chris and I talked about that even today, and that's kind of, for spring, maybe next year anyways.
Okay, just so I'm on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely.
That way I know that I'm expecting a quote, so we can do a purchase order that, end of October, so we're gonna encumber that into 23.
No, and that's fine, and again, if the board wants to discuss this more, I would like to solicit a motion to get the goals and nets purchased so that we can start putting this together.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the only other thing that we talked about in the meeting was also there's an expectation that by our January meeting, we would have, some solid policies and registration and have that ready to vote on or take action on in January, so.
Like I said, we really wanna jump ahead on this. We want the people that we've lost to know that it's coming back so that they can play in hometown, you know, and I think by getting ahead of that, we talked about reaching out to the elementary schools. I had a conversation with the principal at Jane Ball. He was not opposed to like flyers being left at the school to be distributed amongst the kids. I'm sure it wouldn't be hard for me to get that accomplished at MacArthur. I don't know if we had kids in our program from Lincoln. I mean, technically it's a Cedar Lake school. I would think we would've.
I couldn't tell you 100% for sure, but I do remember Mr. Becker always, printing his quick little programs. He'd cut his colorful sheet of paper in half and he'd go visit with the officers
Yeah.
at Jane Ball in MacArthur.
I mean, yeah, and
Spend the morning doing that.
I mean, in the interest, I mean, it's a Hanover school. We might as well invite them to the party. It might help us fill our rosters.
I really don't think you guys are gonna have a problem.
Yeah.
That's what we like to.
I mean, that's kind of where we wanna be. I'd rather have a full roster than not.
Honestly, I'm willing to bet that you guys will probably have more parents angry at you because you're gonna have to cut off registration.
Well, and maybe with the early registration, it's something that we can adjust, like we can open another, you know, 6 teams or whatever. We can adjust for that. We just wanted to be responsible, you know, because we're still banking on parents being willing to coach. We're still banking on trying to find referees. I guess since we're talking about that, I had asked Hope to look into a referee course or like a coaching course, like a professional one to like, so it's not just
Here's a whistle.
go.
You get a clipboard and...
But unfortunately, that came in at the tune of $3,000. So, Hope had spoke to, the athletic director at Hanover, and we're gonna work on getting some high school kids to either volunteer as referees or provide a coaching clinic for the parents that, I mean, I bought a book off Amazon. The book is a great idea until you try to herd the cats to get them to do what the book says, and it just doesn't happen, so. So we're not going to do a professional coaching class, and we're not doing a professional referee class unless, a pot of gold shows up for that program, which you never know. I mean, so anyways, I would like to see us, at the very least, get the goals and nets ordered. That would be the motion I'd be looking for, and that would be in the amount, again, so would that be 75-20?
Yeah, it would be 75-20,
Okay.
yeah,
I would set it not
7,500.
to exceed of $8,000.
Sure, absolutely. And I guess I mean, it's Bourbonnais. I mean, Public Works went to Joliet. Could we save on freight and see if Public Works could flatbed the equipment?
I'll work with Tim to see if there'll be a flatbed that we can use to actually trailer them back and forth. But it'd probably make more sense just to have them deliver it if we could. Because then it's insured by them up until delivery point.
Okay.
Warranty.
Very similar to having the dog park equipment stored at Kinetic's site.
Sure.
It's insured by them, if something breaks in their warehouse, it's on them.
See if they can delay delivery just so we don't have to store it.
Okay.
You know, I can't imagine.
With the COVID lead times we're seeing on all kinds of other equipment, I would be shocked if have equipment on hand to push out the door. Stranger things have happened though.
Okay, well, like I said, so all right, so I'm looking for a motion not to exceed $8,000 to purchase the goals and the nets required to resurrect the soccer league.
I'll give a motion to to purchase the goals and nets not to exceed $8,000 to get the soccer program rolling in some way.
And that would be to JMM Matters, Inc.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a second. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Markwart?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Holsey?
Yes. Okay, soccer's coming back. Let's see.
Number 9.
Number 9, yep. Before we move on to number 9, so Hope, let's just start getting aggressive in this together.
Okay.
You know, let's start working on waivers and such.
Okay,
We can do it.
okay.
Okay, so item number 9, changing the date of the November meeting from Thursday, November 17th of 2022, as the holiday conflicts with,
Thanksgiving?
the meeting conflicts with Thanksgiving. So, there is a possibility of changing the December date, as well, but that date hasn't been determined yet. And then the other portion of this is, it's been requested that the park board meetings be changed to the first Thursday of each month, starting in 2023. What's the board's pleasure on this?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll second it.
thanks, Greg. Roll call, please.
Okay. Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Markwart?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Holsey?
Yes. Okay. Project updates, clerk treasurer fund report.
Thank you.
Whoop.
There wasn't a time, I just want to make sure it's still 6 o'clock.
Yes.
Thank you.
You got it. Okay, project update, clerk treasurer fund report.
Board members, I just gave you, cross-country season's over for my kids, so yay, I'm back full-time in the office. So the reports I gave you were actually from the end of August to today. And really the expenditure reports out of the Park Impact Fund has just been those miscellaneous things as Public Works continues with their electrical work and the fencing for the dog park, and they needed some stone for, I think, the little walkway right in front. It's what they were working on the last couple of weeks at the dog park. Yeah, it's all out of Park Impact. It was all Kiwanis Park, pretty much, is what we're looking at. So from 8/25 to 10/27, the expenditures were $34,437.61. Right now, your fund balance is just over 1.2 million in the Park Impact Fund as of today's date, when I ran the report. The other update I have is I just kind of went through in that really basic capital list. That was a continuation of what Mr. Everly had created tail end of last year. So, you know, we had already gone through and purchased all that playground equipment that went into 4 or 5 parks. Improvements at Kiwanis, improvements at the clubhouse, that's complete now. The mulch has been purchased and completed. Founder's Creek Trail survey work is done. The paving and striping at Kiwanis Park, that's wrapping up right now. Those final pay, I take that back. The paving final pay request will be on council's agenda, and then a majority of the striping, I think it was $1,000, $1,200 in retainage still for that. We're waiting on final pay requests to finish up the fencing project here at Town Hall, and there was a small change order, I believe, with the fencing at the dog park. So we're just waiting on who was SDI. SDI was the company. We're waiting on them to get their final invoices together. They're going to get them over to TJ at CBEL, and then they'll get us the final pay request. I anticipate receiving those by council's second meeting for November, because we were working on that last week. The water fountain's been ordered, waiting on that. The majority of the lights, and all the poles, the light top fixture itself, whatever you call that, as well as miscellaneous electrical to get those poles in at Glennis Park. A majority of that has been completed. Yeah, that's just continuation of your capital projects and survey work and whatnot. I went ahead and I also gave you a small report for the non-reverting fund, that's Fund 403. You only had two really small expenses out of there, just name tags for as we do the senior program. And Mr. Markwa had a reimbursement for one of those first
Senior socials, yep.
senior socials. Other than that, the only expenses that come out of the park non-reverting fund is the exercise instructor. That's just the way it was set up all those years ago when she started doing, I want to say it was like 2015 or 2016 when they set up that program with her for on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But I've already discussed with Chris, it would be my recommendation, once we have an actual established park budget, I would like to see her payroll move over to the actual operating budget. That way Park and Rec non-reverting can be utilized for like the soccer program, because in my mind, when you're doing soccer, you want your registrations to turn around and go right back to your goals, to your miscellaneous,
Sure.
you know, operating expenses for that, and so then if you're not reverting, it's just kind of easier to keep track of what you pulled in and what's going right back out to that program. So like I've done these couple of reports, I'll do the same thing once we actually have everything back from the DLGF. It will just be Department 6 is what I'm calling it. It'll be Parks and Recreation, and you'll get something like this from me. Most likely, I'll give you a cover sheet like I do with council when I do their docket reports that just lays out, you know, 3, 4 funds, you know, whatever we're working with, and it'll give you a total, and then you'll have your accompanying documents, which are these reports that give you the better detail and total cost of what everything has been for that period. It'll probably be the 30 days prior, since you guys only meet once a month.
Okay. Well, and I guess what our conversation, if we switch to the first Thursday, how does that affect our discussion we had in your office today? Then we should be,
Actually, I think that would work much better for me.
for you, okay, good.
It would, because the way it's been these last few months since you guys have been established, what was it, April is when you were established. So we've almost been on kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. All your dockets have actually truly been council dockets. So council's always approved everything as it's been expended. So by the time you guys have seen the report, I guarantee that, you know, Public Works, the light poles, without talking to Mr. Kubiak, I guarantee it's probably a done deal.
Right.
You know, they've already finished their work at this point in time, gotten what they need done. You know, and once Kubiak checks off on those invoices that he has received the product, or, you know, Mr. King has, you know, picked up whatever electrical parts or whatnot, you know, they sign off on it, we turn around, we put it in for council's docket, it goes out. So by you guys meeting at the beginning of the month, depending on which vendors we're working with, it actually probably fall more closely in line with council's docket. So it technically, you won't see like a check number, it wouldn't be paid out yet. So it'd go out the following Wednesday.
Okay, cool. Good stuff.
I know that was a lot, I'm sorry.
No, but that's what we need, I mean, because we had just talked about with the meetings as they were, so that kind of solves that problem. Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see how it goes. I mean, really, it's just me and, you know, making sure I have my dates nicely as I go to run the reports for you all, and that we're not overlapping anything.
Sure. Okay, anything for Jennifer from board members?
That's good.
Okay. Item number 2 on project updates is senior social program role. And how's that looking?
It's looking good. We have 13 participants signed up for tomorrow. And Stretch Lab is going to come again and do their presentation again. So
And again, I will not be able to attend. I will be at, trunk or treat at MacArthur, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is one of the evening ones that was requested by a couple of the citizens, that there's still seniors that work, which is probably very accurate, and they wanted an opportunity to come to the fun too, so. There we have it. Under project updates, obviously, we looked at the, survey responses, and I really appreciate Hope putting that in such a nice chart. I would like to take note that the number one amenity by 41% was splash pads, so that's something we'll have to plan down the road. But the other stuff was actually very simple. Benches, swings, walking paths, pavilions, and this is in order, bathrooms. The survey, it worked, but it didn't work because the one thing I really wanted to see was the age range, and I think some people were selecting how old their kids were, because there were a lot of people that were putting 12 and under, but filling out full surveys. So, you know, I really did want to see the age demographic of who was asking for what, but that kind of got skewed. And then in the, what expectations do you have of your Parks and Recreation Board? A lot of people just want clean parks and parks that are maintained, and that's, you know, something we have to work towards, and when we have the staff, it'll be, you know, our focus. Interestingly enough, in an anonymous survey, the number 2 response on that was no response. So, you know, but, I mean, we've heard things outside of the survey, and we're listening, and we're trying to, you know, when we get into our park master plan, we're gonna really see what the community wants and needs. So, under written communication, other than I gave Hope 2 letters to, SIP, and please forgive me, the name of the president from the Eagles?
Oh, Ed Giordano.
Mr. Giordano, I had drafted 2 letters to be sent to them, SIP, expressing our gratitude for continuously sponsoring the senior social. They've been great. Rhonda's awesome. And then, obviously, the Eagles for their $5,000 donation. So those letters will be sent out to them, a little delayed, and that's on me. I'll take the heat on that, but those will be sent out. So, okay, at this time, public comment. Any public comments? Going once, twice? Sold. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
I'll give a motion to adjourn.
And I'll second that.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned at 7:22 p.m.